WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name's John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems on this Sunday morning. We're running the backup team this morning. We have Dave on the board. Dave, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the Car Doctor program. And with us as a guest, we have Torsten Gross. He is the founder of Just Hands Racing. Torsten, good morning, and welcome to the Car Doctor program. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Well, first off, tell us a little bit about you. You were a pretty active guy and got into some kind of a crash or accident, right?
Well, I mean, I guess there are two answers to that. When I was 15, I had a diving accident, and so that landed me in a wheelchair. When I was 15, I was a C6 Quadriplegic. Although the second thing you might be asking is the crash I had last year, which put me into a wall as well at Lime Rock Park. So I don't know which one you were going at, but both are relevant to that question, I guess.
Yeah. And, you know, it's one of those things that, and I've said this for years, when we look at cars and transportation, they really do bring a lot of people together. And you got into racing. Do I understand it because your wife bought you a track day?
Yes, she did. And funny enough, at the exact same time, I got her motorcycle lessons. So I guess we were for our anniversary. So I guess we're perfect for each other, right? But that's actually the case. I like driving fast. I was always interested in that, but I never knew that it was something that I could get into. And after COVID, we had moved full time to Sharon, Connecticut, which is right outside of Lime Rock. And she surprised me with that for an anniversary, and that's what got me into the sport.
And it truly is one of those. I mean, if you look at folks that are in your situation, they play basketball. Well, yep. They're probably not going to play with the Celtics. But when you're behind the wheel of, well, they might. But if you're behind the wheel of a race car, you're pretty equal with other people behind the wheel of a race car, right?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I've spent this will be my 30th year in a chair, and I have done a lot of things sports-wise. I'm the world's only quadriplegic that's a rescue scuba diver. I did 12 marathons in 12 months. I skydive, I ski, and all that. But to your point, I will never do that with able-bodied people, right? You and I will never do a marathon together. You and I will never play basketball together. You and I will never ski in the same division together. But being on track, you won't know that I'm in a chair unless you saw me in the paddock, right? So, or when you see me on the podium. But you won't know that I'm in a wheelchair, and the car doesn't care that I'm in a chair either. So it's actually the great equalizer. It makes me equal and all disabled people equal to able-bodied people, which the freedom of that is incredible, as I'm sure you can imagine.
And I remember years ago I worked as a mechanic, and we had one of our customers had a handicapped van, and it was a little and it was a little probably primitive at that time, but it had hand controls. It had a single steering thing that you sort of rest your wrist in to steer. It had electric power steering before there was really electric power steering, in case the van stalled, you could still steer it. And the hand controls were pretty simple. It was forward to go and back to slow down. How different are the hand controls in your race car versus, what maybe I was used to a whole bunch of years ago?
I use hand controls that were designed, I believe, 25 years ago. And it's exactly how you just described, although a little bit different. I turn for gas, and I push for brake, and then I use my left hand to steer. One thing that I have now started to amend, excuse me, as I get better, is I'm working with the hand control company to be releasing hand controls that will allow me to shift. And so we're putting buttons on the hand controls on the right side so that I can shift. Now, I race a Porsche, which has a PDK in it. And we all know PDKs are almost as fast, if not faster, than a human can shift. The same thing for a dual clutch DCT for a BMW. However, there are moments that you want to be able to shift yourself as a race car driver, and that adds the 0.2 or 0.4 here and there. So that's why I decided to design hand controls that allow me to shift while I'm on track. So the answer to your question is they are actually relatively similar, or they're actually the exact same. I have just chosen to take it to a little bit different of a level to have a little bit more control.
And, as an example, Formula One cars don't have a clutch pedal, right?
Yeah. And most cars, don't with those type of transmissions. They might have a clutch pedal to get you out of first, right? That's true as well, right? So Mercedes still has the exact same that I'm talking about, but you have to use a clutch to get out of first. That's an easy workaround as well. We have just a stick that pushes down onto it. It just gets you out of first. It's not a big deal. So at the end of the day, the way I see it is, able-bodied or not, or disabled, we're all creative in this pursuit of mobility and racing and driving. And, if you're creative enough, you figure it out.
And tell us, you mentioned your car that you race, a Porsche, but I saw a commercial with you and Joey Lagano in it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Pennzoil has been fantastic to me. So the first commercial I did it in an M3 BMW. That was my first track car before I moved over to a Cayman. And Pennzoil has just been fantastic because, if I can, get on my soapbox for a minute, a lot of brands use disabled people in kind of token type ways. And Pennzoil has not. Pennzoil really has taken me on as a true driver that happens to use hands. And that's fantastic. And so the ability to collaborate, I've now done two things with Joey, that commercial, as well as a second thing that we did about 2 months ago or 3 months ago, has been incredible. Who doesn't want to go track with the two-time NASCAR champion, right? That's kind of let's call it a personal highlight.
And that is one of those things that, spending some time with Joey Lagano, but Joey Lagano drove your car too, right?
Indeed, he did. So, the joke was, how do you teach the two-time NASCAR champion how to drive? Well, don't yet let him use his legs. And so I put him through the same process that I go through. We went down to Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we worked with the hand control manufacturer, put hand controls in that car, which is actually very simple to do. And Joey got to experience what it's like to drive with hands. And I got to tell you, he picked it up real quick. He, within lap 2, was at full throttle in places where I was not expecting him to be full throttle, just thinking, all right, he knows what he's doing, feet or not feet, right? And he just understands dynamics of a car. And that was really special to see, right, that somebody like him was able to experience what I get to experience on a day-to-day basis.
And, one of the things I will say is when I was watching that, both you guys were smiling like crazy.
We were. I think, I love to teach even able-bodied people how to use hand controls because, the adage, walk a mile in someone's shoes. Well, instead of walk a mile in someone's shoes, what about drive a mile with someone's gloves? Right, and so I love to be able to show people what it's like to be in a chair and drive, to actually show that it's not as hard as one thinks it is, but also to open up people's minds from a creative standpoint, right, that things are possible. And he just loved it because, for somebody who's been doing it for so long, right, I don't even know how many years he's been doing it, but it's been a long time. to show somebody like him something new is pretty cool and meant a lot. And the fact that Pennzoil put us together and made that happen, I think, was really, really special.
And as you do this, I have to think that you're an inspiration for a lot of people that maybe they're in the situation that you were in when you were 16 or 17, and
Yep.
and maybe there's a certain amount of depression. I have to I don't know. I'm got most of my limbs, I guess, but the there's probably people that go, well, I'm not going to be able to do this and I'm not going to be able to do that, and they see you in a race car, and they go, well, if he can do that, can I do that?
I hope so. I mean, my biggest response to that, and this might sound a little weird, is I believe everybody's got a wheelchair. And what I mean by that is everybody has something that they believe limits them, whether it's depression or Tourette's or they lost a child or whatever it may be, right? Everybody's got that thing in their life that holds them back. And if we could all just kind of embrace that, and see that not actually as a deficit, but as a superpower, then we'll all be greater for it. And so I hope what you're saying is true, because I hope that by me being able to do something like this, I can motivate other people to say, well, I might not be in a chair, but I have X or I have Y. But I'm going to use that as my superpower instead of my kryptonite, right? Which is... Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
Is it conquering a fear, or is it just getting over a roadblock?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it's going through the unknown. I think it's confidence comes on the other side of trying, right? And so until you tried something, how can you be confident with it? And so there's fear, there's a roadblock, there's everything, and until you actually say, well, let's give it a shot and embrace failure and be excited to fail, right? Like, we're talking only about the successes that I've had here, right? I'm happy to have another 3-hour conversation to talk about the failures, because you got to try a lot in order to get to the successes. And I think embracing failure and going kind of through the question of can I is where success happens on the other side.
Well, I mean, like that old joke, it's called WD-40 because the first 39 times didn't work.
I will be using that. That's amazing. I love that.
You have a foundation, the Just Hands Foundation. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this is you brought up basketball in the beginning, and there are a lot of sports that people in chairs can do, and they're skiing and basketball and all that, but. Being the only thing that makes us equal to able-bodied people there and being track driving, I wanted to bring that to the masses. And, to me, a passion isn't something that you just want to do yourself, but you're kind of obliged to share it with others, right? And so I started the Just Hands Foundation, which has 2 cars at Lime Rock Park. We have 1 car at Spa in Belgium. We have 1 car at Nürburgring. And we're about to put a car actually at Charlotte Motor Speedway because of Pennzoil. We're putting a car there. And we're going to put about 4 other cars around this country just this year in order for people in chairs to understand or experience what I get to experience. And what is fascinating to me is just in our first year, we're only 2 years old. That first year we had a little over 20 drivers. 5 of them bought track cars after the first time they did it. And when's the last time you did something once, and then you said this was so profound and so life-changing that I'm going to spend $5, $10, $20, $30, $50, whatever, $1,000 to continue doing it? Right? Like, that doesn't happen very often.
I don't think it's happened yet. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So to have that, I don't want to say conversion rate, to have that impact, and I can tell you we've had tons of other people buy track cars since then. That's how monumental it's been for people. So, Just Hands gets people in chairs out to feel what I feel on the track.
How fast are you around Lime Rock?
In a Cayman S, which is fairly slow, I managed, my personal best is actually a 57.7.
That's pretty fast.
That's not horrible, I'll say that.
Because many years ago, my wife actually bought me a track day there as well, and I have been back a couple of times for other different events, and I wasn't nearly that fast. So congratulations on that. If people want to find out more about the foundation and your relationship with Pennzoil, where do they go? What do they do?
Absolutely. So justhands.org is for us, right, for the foundation, Just Hands Foundation. And then going to Pennzoil, and the Pennzoil YouTube specifically has the Joey video as well as our commercials and my relationship with them. And stay tuned, more to come as well. So definitely check that out. And I would love it if everybody were to watch that, because it really shows, as you said, we're both smiling, the personality of both of us, but also how open he was to trying it.
It really, you kind of knew the answer when the question was asked, do you want to give it a try? And you knew, you know somebody who's competitive is never going to say no. So,
no.
Absolutely fantastic. Torsten, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your Sunday morning and joining us on the Car Doctor radio program.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And next time you're at Lime Rock, please drop me a line. I'm 7 miles away. Would love to join you on track.
All right. Thank you. Take care. And have a great rest of your weekend. Yep. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Why don't we take a quick break, pay some bills? My name's John Paul. This is a Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's OLDEHP.com.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24/7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
This is Dan Cloutier.
And this is Kim Jennings.
We're from Birchbeer Records. Tune into Twilight Showcase Radio.
Hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James.
On 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com.
Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook and visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Dave is doing a great job in the studio, filling in for Jesse, filling in for Tim, who was filling in for Jesse. Do I have that right, Dave? Is that how all this went?
Yeah, it's Jesse. Tim would fill in for Jesse, but I'm here for Tim, who's filling in for. Yeah, it's complicated.
I know it is, and I think Tim was heading up to New Hampshire. Speaking of racing, I think he was going up for the NASCAR Cup race. So
that's right. Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yeah, we should have had him call in.
That's right. Yeah, let's see what's going on up there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know. We'll be opening up the phone lines a little bit. We'll get those going. But right now, let's talk about the car that got me around this week, and a little bit about my tire story, and we'll get on to that a little bit later. But I did road test a car this week. It was the Infiniti QX60. It's a luxury midsize SUV that competes with maybe like the Lexus TX, the Cadillac XT6, the Audi Q7, Acura MDX. It's in that category there somewhere. Our road test was in the autograph version of the QX60, which adds additional luxury features. It's already a luxury car, but it adds more. It's kind of a fancier leather interior, things like that. The overall design of the QX60 could best be described as sleek and sophisticated. The front grille is bold with a combination of well-designed LED headlights, 20-inch wheels, huge panoramic moonroof, streamlined body. The body's got a nice look to it. It's rounded off in the back. It just looks different and stands out over kind of the square box SUV, and I think that gives it some of a commanding presence on the road. The interior is spacious and comfortable with luxury touches throughout. All the surfaces have a soft touch feel, so even what you would think would be harder plastic or harder vinyl has this nice soft luxury feel. The leather seating and wood trim continues the luxury theme throughout. The front and rear seats are very comfortable, although I found the front seats really comfortable. My wife said, I think you could use a little bit more leg support. I didn't notice that at all, and that I'm usually pretty critical of that. The driver and passenger seats are heated and cooled, and there's 3-zone climate control, so driver, passenger, and rear seat all have their own climate control. My wife and another woman was sitting in the back seat, and she said, "Oh, look at all the buttons we can press." The third row, it is a three-row SUV. Pretty, kids, maybe an occasional adult on a short trip. It's a little awkward to get in and out. You do a little bit of crawling, and once you're back there, it's not the most comfortable seating in the world, but it will work in it if you need it to do. Plenty of cup holders, 12-volt outlets, USB outlets, as well as a wireless charging pad for your phone. If you have a phone that you can charge without plugging it in, which is kind of a nice feature, by the way. And I don't have a wireless charging pad at home, but when I got in this car and dropped it in there, it was kind of nice. And then when you use like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto or one of those things, you don't have to worry about having to plug the phone in to keep the phone charged so it works. So kind of a nice thing to be able to use. The infotainment system is a dual screen setup with 8-inch upper touchscreen for navigation and 7-inch lower touchscreen. I didn't measure them. I'm going by what they told me. Like I said, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth connectivity all come standard, making it pretty easy to integrate your smartphone. The optional 17-speaker Bose system had great sound. I guess I'm old enough, I remember, having a car with one speaker, and you were really hot if you added a second speaker to the back or 2 speakers in the back. Whew. That was a big deal. Then, then eventually added speakers to the doors. And, how many people from the 70s put, house speakers in the back of their car? Probably did. But anyway, the Bose system sounds great. The 17 speakers, I don't even know where they are, but they're all over the place. The one thing I did miss on this car, which I do on a lot of cars, is a proper radio tuning knob. If I wanted to find 95.9 on the radio, and the person before me was listening to, I don't know, another station. I don't know why you would, but they were listening to another station, and you wanted to tune over. You kind of have to use the seek and find buttons. So put a knob in, people. That's all. I thought the other controls were well thought out and easy to use. On the road, the QX60 does quite well. Under the hood, you'll find only one engine, a 3.5-liter V6 that delivers 295 horsepower, 270 foot-pounds of torque. The engine's paired to a 9-speed automatic. In the case of our test car, delivers power to all 4 wheels through Infiniti's intelligent all-wheel drive system. The overall result is smooth and responsive acceleration. For an SUV, handling surprisingly good. The Infiniti did a great job of keeping the cabin quiet. It's a very quiet vehicle on the road. Fuel efficiency is rated by the EPA as 20 miles per gallon in the city, 25 miles per gallon on the highway, which isn't bad, actually. During my time with the QX60, which was mostly city driving, I averaged about 21 miles per gallon. One thing I really liked about it is, and I don't know how big the fuel tank is. I apologize, I didn't look. But when it's full of gas, over 500 miles between fuel stops. Now, as somebody who just 2 weeks ago drove back from Florida in the Hyundai Santa Fe Sport we have, it doesn't have a very big fuel tank. And on a good day, 325 miles to empty, 340 miles to empty, somewhere in that range, I would guess. So you're stopping, you want to stop with 50 miles left in the tank kind of thing. So you're stopping every 280, 90 miles. Not that I want to drive for 10 hours in a row between fill-ups, but it's nice to know that you're not having to hunt for the next gas station in the next couple hours behind the wheel. Just having that, long range, I think is pretty good for a car that still gets 25 miles to the gallon on the highway. Infiniti prioritizes safety with the QX60, I think, offering a comprehensive suite of advanced driver assistance features. Safety technology includes forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. Our tester also had the ProPilot Assist system, which, like similar system, combines adaptive cruise control with lane keeping assistance to provide some level of semi-autonomous driving. It speeds up, it slows down, it kind of stays in the lane. You're not going to take your hands off the wheel, really. And I don't care what some companies say about their advanced driver assistance systems where you can take your hands off the wheel. Don't, people, keep your hands on the wheel, please. For the 2024 Infiniti QX60 is a nice blend of style, comfort, and performance, and a compelling choice in the luxury mid-size segment. I would put it as a top contender for those seeking luxurious and family-friendly SUV that, when properly equipped, can tow 6,000 pounds. And although it's a lot of money, in that category of competitive vehicles, the base suggested retail price was $66,100. Options on our vehicle was a $795 option package for lighting, which included illuminated cargo scuff plates, welcome lighting, so when you open the door. I don't know that that's $795 I would spend. It's cute and all. Same thing with the Infiniti Radiant grill emblem, so $465 for that. Carpeted floor mats and complimentary premium paint. Complimentary. $695. Destination charges about $1,200. Total of the vehicle was $69,240, which makes it a little bit cheaper than some other similar vehicles. So something to think about. If you would like to join us, if you have a question about your car, you can give us a call at 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. Phone lines are open if you would like to join us. I happened to stumble across something on the interwebs this week that 20 common automotive myths and lies that people still believe. Number 20, hybrids are too slow. Speaking of environmentally friendly cars, a myth that hybrid and electric cars are slow. Yeah, not anymore. There's some really fast hybrids. Even the new Prius is they did a really good job. It's a pretty fast car. American cars are made in America. No, not really. Many car manufacturers make a great fuss about being made in America. Once upon a time, yeah, but in recent years, the plants, a lot of them have moved to other parts of the world. A lot of Buicks are made in China. A lot of cars, a lot of Ford products made in Mexico, for instance. What's it say here? Even cars which were perhaps assembled in America can be made of parts which originated in every corner of the globe. Isn't that true with anything? Or perhaps a few components have been made in U.S. factories but sent abroad to be assembled. Chances of your car being built from beginning to end in the United States are pretty slim. My Hyundai was made in someplace, Carolinas, somewhere, Alabama, somewhere. Change your oil every 3,000 miles. I think we beat this one to death. You don't need to do it every 3,000. We're seeing 5, 6, 7. Toyota says 10,000 in some cars. Volkswagen says 10,000. Yeah, you can do it. Absolutely. But use a good quality filter, and also check your oil, people. It is important to check the oil in your car. Today's cars with thin oil, and we see some, 0 15. Did I just see 07 somewhere? You know, the oil's going to get used. It's going to get burned up as normal combustion. And if you go 7, 8, 10,000 miles between oil changes, and your normal car, normal good condition vehicle, burns a quart of oil in every 2,000 or 3,000 miles, over the life of that oil change, that 10,000 mile oil change, you could be down 3 quarts of oil. That's enough to do some damage. What's it say? Old cars are better. Anyone believes old cars are better than new cars are living in the past. They probably decree the behavior of their youth while reminiscing about cars they had when they were younger. It says here, the fact is that while some older cars become classic collector items, any vehicle made before 2000 is going to need some serious TLC just to drive. Even though you look at a car that got into a crash, and that crash totaled the car, it's designed to crash in a certain way and crumple up, and that 55 Chevy with the hard dash and the cardboard sun visors and the steering column that didn't collapse is going to be the one that's going to do the most damage in a crash over something like Chevy Impala from 10 years ago. Also, are they more mechanical? And I tell the story whenever I can. When I was a kid, I was at a parking lot of where the car guys hung out, and there was a Pontiac. I think it was a 65 or 6, something like that. Bunch of guys standing around, bunch of old guys standing around, old guys who were probably in their 20s, mid-20s. And they were commenting about how that engine had never been apart. Valve covers were never off of it, and it had 70,000 miles on it. Now we see cars that go 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles, and the valve covers haven't been off, and the engines are still running fine, with just a little bit of preventative maintenance. So, were they better? They were better to look at, I think. Last week I rushed away from here and went to the Father's Day Car Show in Hyannis, which is kind of put on by the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and Matt Pitta, who was an old radio guy who's now at the Chamber, who normally has his car there, but he was at the Chamber booth all day. He was they had a dizzying array of cars there. It's a tough show to go to as an attendee because you need to get there at like 6 in the morning, and they don't let you out till like 2:30. But it is a fun show to walk around. It was really crowded, but it was a good show. Great selection of vehicles there. A lot of people hanging around with their cars. Just great to see. There were some cars that I recognized the people that were there, including State Rep Steve Howitt's car, which I've never met him in person. He has been on the radio show with us talking about a bill that he filed to try to prevent catalytic converter theft, but he has a very nice Acura that I saw the car, and I took a picture and tagged him on Facebook with the picture. And I also, one of my former coworkers, who is now the editor-in-chief of Rhode Island Monthly Magazine, I saw her husband's Bronco there. And apparently, and she may even be on vacation down here on Cape Cod somewhere this week. Premium gas equals premium performance? Nope. I think we beat that one to death, too. We did a bunch of testing at AAA to show that premium fuel in a car that doesn't need premium fuel, that's not required, doesn't do anything for the car. Doesn't make it more powerful, doesn't give it better gas mileage, does nothing. In a car that it is recommended. So maybe you have a Chrysler product, and you open up the gas cap door, and it says 91 octane recommended. And you look at the gas pump, and there's 87, 89, and 92. And you're like, which one do I use? I better use the 92. Well, it says the word recommended. Recommended means you don't need to do it. Now, you may notice a slight change in fuel economy, although in the 10 or so vehicles that we tested where the premium fuel was recommended, we saw no difference in fuel economy or horsepower. And we ran these cars on a dyno with, a set amount of fuel metered out of a precision beaker kind of container thing. No difference at all. In some cases, actually, the 87 octane fuel bumped the fuel economy slightly. We don't know why that happened. But if your car requires premium fuel, you own a Cayman, like Torsten Gross did, and it says premium fuel required, you need to use it. If you have a high-performance vehicle and it says premium fuel required, or you built a high-performance vehicle, premium fuel is required. Don't skimp there. Will anything bad happen if you use a tank of regular? No, I got a email from a reader who borrowed his neighbor's AMG Mercedes, so the high-performance AMG Mercedes. And being a good neighbor, he brought it back with a full tank of gas. What happened, though, when he brought it back with a full tank of gas, he put regular in instead of premium. And shortly thereafter, the car started to run funny. So they brought it to the dealer, and the dealer said, well, the whole problem is you put regular gas in the car. In fact, we even found the receipt, because the receipt was in, I don't know, a cup holder or something. And that's why it's running the way it is, and we're not going to cover anything under warranty. It was your fault. Nope. In fact, if you look in the owner's manual, it says if you have to put regular in, even this high-performance AMG Mercedes, don't make a regular habit out of it, but in case of emergencies, you're out of gas, and then it says, fill up with premium later. So I actually sent the person a copy of the owner's manual. And they emailed me back and said, the dealer's going to fix it under warranty. So it's going to be tough when their words come back to bite them. But it was their own words, not anybody else's. And I think, if you've ever been a fan of Mythbusters, you've seen gas stations where it says, don't be on your cell phone while you get filling up with gas because things could blow up. No, that's not really true either. Should you be on your phone while you're filling up with gas? Why? Wait, do it later. You might get distracted being on the phone and you're filling up with gas and the nozzle doesn't click off the way it should, and all of a sudden gas is squirting out all over the place and you're not paying attention because you're, on the phone. So do you have to be on the phone all the time? Well, we had some hot weather this week, and some people believe that if you get gasoline while it's cool in the morning rather than in the heat of the day, you'll get more gas in the gas tank because gas expands when it gets hot. That is true. Gas does expand when it gets hot. And so, every myth's maybe got a little kernel of truth to it, but you got, I don't know, I'm making up the number, 25,000 gallon gas tank buried in the ground. 80-degree days aren't really going to make, 90-degree days aren't going to make any difference. That gas coming out of the gas tank's still going to be cool because it's basically in a root cellar kind of thing, and it's going to be cool, and it's an insulated tank and all that sort of stuff. Out in California, where it gets hot more often, the temperatures, the pumps in some cases were actually temperature compensating pumps, didn't make any difference. So, no, you get gas when you need gas. So, red cars are pulled over more often than any other color car. Could be because red cars, more sporty cars, and I don't know. Are they more likely to be pulled over? Mercedes SL class was at the top of the table with drivers 400% more likely to get a ticket. Maybe they just drive stupid. SUVs are safer than cars. What's it say here? Thanks to their size, there's a perception SUVs are always going to be safer than cars. Should the worst happen, you find yourself involved in it's not an accident, it's a crash. The automotive myth goes a long way to explaining why SUVs are so popular. All vehicles, whether hefty SUVs or tiny compacts, have the same safety features, airbags, anti-lock brakes, all that sort of stuff. It's a good job that SUVs are so safe. Figures suggest they're more likely to be involved in crashes than accidents than any other type of vehicle. So it says those big SUVs also pose a greater risk to other drivers on the road. Well, I disagree with a lot of that. SUVs are popular. It's hard not to buy an SUV these days. It's hard to buy a sedan. Today, SUVs have to meet the same kind of crash safety criteria as sedans did. 20 years ago, that was not the case. That's why, 20-ish years ago, you could see minivans with only one airbag when cars had multiple airbags. They didn't have to meet the same crash testing. Because SUVs are so popular, vehicle manufacturers work really hard to make them safe. They also have things like stability control systems that help make them safe. Braking systems that work as good as those in a sedan, if not better, because they have bigger brakes in them. So, but then when it comes down to just sheer mass, NHTSA did a study years ago and said that, as much as, cars can be safe, when it comes to, the physical mass of the vehicle, that sometimes can make it safe. Is a smart car and a big SUV, if they get in a crash together, is, the smart car going to do as well as the big car? Probably not, because again, mass can make a difference. So, are big cars a risk to other people on the road? No more than big trucks are a risk to people in SUVs. So, I don't know. Raising speed limits causes more. I hate using the word accident. Why do they say that? Speed limits are an important part of keeping roads safe. These limits are absolutely vital in built-up areas where reduction in speed of just 10 miles an hour can be the difference between seriously injuring and killing a pedestrian in a collision. Roads are designed with kind of a average speed in mind, a speed that is optimum for typical conditions. So, even though the speed limit says 65 or 70 out on the highway, doesn't mean you drive 65 or 70 in the rain. So just because it says that. All-wheel drive is essential for snow. All-wheel drive is better, certainly, but it's the winter tires that make a difference. So winter tires just do better. Model T Fords only came in black. Henry Ford is one of the most famous names in motoring, perhaps even in American history. His reputation as father of the U.S. motoring industry is well-deserved, though there is one myth that about his early years which has been dispelled before. According to the legend, Ford's most famous quote stems from when he opened his first production plant and started building his famous Model T, which he reported to have said, "You can have any color as long as it's black." Great quote, great story. It just happens to be utter nonsense, apparently. Ford Model T cars were actually available in a number of colors, black, blue, brown, green, and even red. I think that's about it. The other ones are kind of dumb. Aluminum can be as strong as steel. SUVs are more prone to rollover. Electric cars are more likely to catch fire. We'll do that one. Electric cars increase popularity, the performance reliability improves. Even motorists want to try to be environmentally friendly. Now, what's it say here? While there's been a few cases of electric cars catching fire, the simple fact is that cars that run on gasoline are more likely to catch fire and explode than any other vehicle. According to the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, which I believe is headquartered in Quincy, Mass., drivers of gas-powered cars are 5 times more likely to experience a fire than those driving an electric one. So there you go. There's the story. So there's some myths. Why don't we take another break? My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. And give us a call. We'll be right back.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24/7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at AAA.com/join.
Start your Sunday off right with brunch at the Old Hitching Post in Hanson. The Old Hitching Post offers a full buffet brunch every Sunday from 10 to 1. Fill up on all your favorites like eggs and bacon, sausage, home fries, French toast casserole, mac and cheese, homemade hash, fresh seafood, rice, veggies, fresh fruit, quiche, yogurt parfaits, pastries, ham, omelets, eggs Benedict, and more. The Old Hitching Post Sunday brunch from 10 to 1 at 48 Spring Street, Route 58 in Hanson. Online at oldhp.com. That's OLDEHP.com.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action, as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. Our phone number is 781-837-4900. And Dave, did you say we had a phone call?
Yes, we got a call here from John from North Reading. Is on the
All right,
line.
well, let's talk to John. John, good morning. Hello, John. There you are. John, good morning.
Hello, John.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Jim from North Reading again. You've got a great show. Thank you. Just a quick update with the water pump I talked to you last week. Three more days of using a bolt buster induction heater and lubricating it 3 or 4 times. Both studs came out, the water pump's in, and it's working. Thank you.
Well, good. Could you come to my house? I went to start my wife's old Volkswagen that we leave here, and the ABS and traction control lights came on. I did a quick scan of it, and it shows the left rear wheel sensor is most likely the culprit. There's a 5mm Allen screw that holds it in, and I know it's going to break. Can you come down to my house and heat that up and get it out for me?
I'm retired. Give me the address. I'll be down during the week. Give me an excuse to go down the Cape.
There you go. I just, I crawled under there the other day and looked at it, and I sprayed it with I think I had I don't know, some kind of penetrating oil, and I'm going to spray it a couple more times, and the parts coming in. I think the parts coming next Friday. It's supposed to arrive, so but I'm already convinced that it's a 5mm Allen wrench that you need to loosen it up, and I'm like, it's just going to break off. I know it's going to.
You have my sympathy completely.
And that heat inductor tool is a pretty neat tool, isn't it?
It is. It doesn't work the way they show it on the YouTube videos as quickly, but I think it eventually did do it.
Yeah, yeah. For people that don't know, it looks like a. I don't know. What would you describe it? It looks like an old-fashioned, big, huge soldering iron with a metal coil that goes around it, and you put that over the bolt and plug it in and turn it on, and it gets hot and doesn't start your car on fire.
Good description.
Yeah.
Okay. My main question is: my daughter has a 2014 Nissan Sentra with the CVT transmission.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's got 132,000 miles on it. They only warrantied it up to 120, even though I bought an extended warranty for her because she does a lot of traveling with internships out in field work for environmental stuff. I cannot get them to honor the warranty. In your opinion, from what you've heard from me calling in the past, is that something that I can replace myself, do you think? They want $7,000 from the dealer, and I can buy it for around $2,500. No, about $2,800, and then it has to get flashed for another $300 or $400. So I have to bring it back to the dealer. But I've got a nice garage and someone who has more experience than I do, but we've never done a transmission before.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, if, like you said, you have a nice garage and you're able to do it, the biggest. And it isn't that big a challenge, I guess. The big challenge is making sure you support the engine when you go to take the transaxle out of it. But
right.
But other than that, I don't see why not. I mean, take a lot of pictures as you're starting to take stuff apart, so you know where to put stuff back together. But you sound like a pretty capable guy, so I think so.
Okay, he helped me do a rack on the Town and Country 3 months ago, and he was very good in organizing all the parts that we took off. I was very impressed.
Yeah. Now keep in mind. Let's see, if you were to pay a garage to do this, it's an 8-hour job.
Yeah.
So it isn't something you do in a morning. So it is a full job to do it. So doing it in your home garage, I would dedicate 3 or 4 days to it. Do a little bit at a time.
I'm thinking it'll probably be more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I do things.
Yeah. Well, and then once you get, like you said, once you get the new transmission in, if it does need to be programmed, then just have it towed to the dealer so they can flash the body control module to the new transmission, and you should be fine. I think. Yeah.
All right, I'm glad I got the 200 miles on AAA because it's up in Bangor, Maine.
Oh, geez, okay.
So yeah, I've got the 200 miles.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little over that, but
yeah. Now why isn't the extended warranty helping out?
They said it's only good 220,000 miles.
Oh, all right.
And I've called them on it, and I've exhausted every phone call on it, and nobody wants to honor it. I've had it to two. I brought it to 2 dealers up in Maine. I guess one transmission place, and then I brought it to a dealer, and they said, nope, it's not under the warranty anymore. And there's been class action lawsuits for these CVT transmissions all over Nissan, and they keep still putting them in. Yeah, no, and I guess they're not all bad. I won't say that, but yeah, it's not certainly not my favorite transmission. And somebody wrote to me just the other day that said they finally ridded their family of all their Nissan products, and they went to Toyotas to just get away from the CVTs. So yeah, I mean they're off my list. I mean I have a 93 Sentra. I'm going to call you on probably a week to get the air conditioning converted, but I'm not happy with their policy with the transmission. I brought it in with 80,000, not happy with it. Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. I said, well, it slips periodically, and they just said, nope, it's running fine, and they're refusing to do anything. Yeah. Well, all I can do is wish you good luck. Thank you. I'll keep you updated on it. All right. Thank you. John. Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye. Well then, yeah. I mean, can you do a transmission yourself in your garage if you have enough tools, talent, friends? Yeah, I guess you can. My neighbor here is a dune buggy guy, and a couple of years ago we pulled the engine out of his dune buggy while it was sitting in the driveway. Pretty easy engine to get out actually, but still, it was. Something we did, and then put it back in afterwards. So, can you do that kind of stuff? Yeah, if you can. Am I going to break off the bolt off the ABS wheel sensor on my wife's Volkswagen? Probably. Also, my Hyundai, the brakes, has 30,000 miles on it. Mostly city driving, I would say, except for the trips back and forth to Florida. That is going to need brakes soon. Can brakes simple enough to do without a garage? Well, maybe not today because of the weather, but yeah, I think so. So that will get done somewhere before our return trip to Florida. So, certain things you can do. I started to say that maybe I'd talk about my tire story, my Walmart tire story. And this is one of these things that there's a part 2 of it coming up. So maybe I'll save the whole story for next week. But it didn't go well. Let's just say that. It didn't go well. Somebody wrote to me and said, I have a 2011 Toyota RAV4 and a 2016 Jeep Compass. The Toyota Owner's Manual says, when using the AC, do not use the recirculating outside air mode. Do not use recirculating outside air. The Jeep Owner's Manual
says use it with the recirculating outside air on, which is correct. Is there a certain time you do not use it with the AC? It could just be weird words that are used. I don't know. But here's the deal. Recirculating the outside air is typically when you put it on the max air setting. Usually it flips right over to recirculating the inside air. So, which is nice because you put it on max air. The air's cooler. It shuts off the outside air. So if you're driving by some stinky place, you don't smell bad things. But the problem is you're also recirculating the air that's inside the cabin. So which increases the humidity. If the humidity is high enough and the weather is just right, the windows can fog up. So on a sweltering day in my own car, here's what I usually do. I open all the doors, let all the stifling air out, and then maybe start with max air or recirc, and then switch to the fresh air setting. Most of the time I just honestly have it on the fresh air setting. So, max air once in a blue moon, but not often. Because again, you can actually steam up the inside of the car. And if if you're trying to dry out the car, maybe, but no. So I would just leave the temperature set on a comfortable, 72 degrees or whatever it is. Leave it there year round. 72 in the summer, 72 in the winter. Everybody's happy. One last quick question, because this one made me laugh. How good is Gemini, Chat GPT, or Bing Copilot for answering car questions? Have you ever tried it? Well, I did actually one time. I think Jesse and I talked about this because I think he used one of the AIs to try to tell a ghost story. But when it first came out, I actually wrote a Q&A column and let the AI answer it. What I found is most questions didn't have enough detail to get to a conclusive answer, so it couldn't work its way around that without adding extra detail. I found that about 75% of the answers lacked detail or were actually wrong. Someday, maybe AI and machine learning will replace people, but not yet. Hey, that music means we need to go. I want to thank Dave for filling in for Tim, who filled in for Jesse. Great job, Dave. Thank you very much. And until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. Talk to y'all next week. Bye-bye.